Okay, all right. So what question did he have? Who was asking us something?
That was me. Sorry, I figured it out.
Put that in there, well, unless you want it.
No, this is mine, I dropped.
Oh. All right, so what was the question? You had a question about a homework problem or a quiz? Somebody was trying to ask something.
It was me, but I figured it out.
You figured it out? So you just got back homework papers and quiz papers and you have a question. Cronin?
This question.
All right, he's trying to simplify the log base 5 of, is that 1 over, I can't read it, it's all marked out. 1 over the cube root of 25?
Yeah.
Okay. So, we got two different options here. One option is to loop-de-loop. Remember, when there's one logarithm, something to think about, you may not do it, it may not be the best thing every time, but one option is the loop-de-loop. So 5 to the x equals 1 over the cube root of 25, right? Now, this was no calculator, so you're not going to log both sides, which would be something you could do. You're not going to. So the only thing you can do is get a common base. Well, looking at that number and that number, I bet my common base is going to be 5. So 5 to the x equals, all right, let's first of all get this under control. What does a cube root mean?
1/3.
That is a 1/3 power, right?
Yep.
Since it's 1 over, could I think of that as 25 to the negative 1/3?
Yes.
And then I know that 25 is 5 squared. So I will change that 25 into 5 squared. So I have 5 to the x equals 5 squared to the negative 1/3. So 5 to the x equals 5 to the negative 2/3, and x is negative 2/3. Okay, so any way you do the problem, it boils down to, you gotta rewrite that as a power of 5. Okay, what
This is
else?
4.
Anything else?
I did that on my quiz, but it says I got it wrong.
Okay, bring it to me afterwards so I can see. I know it's disappointing to you, but I do make mistakes. All right, are you on leaving early or is it, you're leaving? All right, what else? Anything else that we need to, do? All right, then let's get out our review packet. I asked you to look at the thing called Precal A Review 2. It literally says Review 2. Did anyone do that?
Did anyone do one?
Did anyone look at Review 2 as I asked you to?
Last night?
Between last class and now, yeah. No, Jake, you didn't. You're looking at it right now.
No, but like, I have a question.
Okay. What?
Number 15. Because
Number
we need
15.
calculator on to give them how to.
Okay, we actually did some of these the other day. Let's see if anybody remembers. Jake, I need you to pay attention, okay?
Yeah.
Because we did, I don't know, 2 or 3 of these the other day.
Yeah, we did.
So there's some random given. Okay, those are just made up, totally made up numbers. But using that, I need to find this. Okay? So what does that mean I need to do, Dana?
Like, just write it out.
I need to rewrite this in terms of numbers that I have been given. I was given 2 and 5. So what can I do with 20?
2, 2, 5.
So 20 can be rewritten as 2 times 2 times 5, and then I have my x cubed. Right? Now, these are multiplied. So what will I do with the logarithms?
Add them.
Yeah, I don't multiply the logarithms, I add them. So this is gonna be the log of 2 plus another one of those, plus a log of 5, and then plus the log of x cubed.
Yeah.
But that one's easy. What's the log base x of x cubed? 3. That's 3. I don't need a chart or a table or given for that. That's 3. This is 0.112 and another 0.112 and a 0.2121. So the answer to the question will be all of those added up. Okay? Obviously, if when I did this, I had a division, then I wouldn't be adding those logarithms, I would be subtracting them. Right, divide means subtract. Okay? So yeah, that we did talk about that the other day. I want to look particularly at number 16, because even though we have done these quite a few times, some of us are still not dealing with it very well. And they aren't hard. They are multi-step though, and so you need to just be organized. You need to keep track of what you're doing. Okay, so, here we go.
Do we get this formula?
No. You get your word problem formulas, your financial formulas, and that's all. So you need to know what a logistic function looks like. So what is our standard format of a logistic?
Initial.
A over
1 plus B,
1
C,
plus
E,
B,
X.
C to the x. Okay? Now, how many variables do I have to find? To write my answer, I need to find
3.
A, B, and C, right? How many pieces of given am I given? 3.
3.
So the limit to growth is 100. Stop right there. That's the easy one. Where does the limit to growth go? A. So already I know I have 100 over 1 plus BC to the x. All right? The initial value is 20, and this is where something's not clicking with us. The initial value means, what do you have at the beginning of the problem? In other words, what do you have when x is 0? The initial value is when you start. X is 0. Think of it as a time problem, because these often involve time. At the beginning, isn't time 0? So x is 0. This is the y-intercept. So now I can take that point and plug it in. So 20 equals 100, 1 plus BC to the 0th. And why is that really good news? Because C to the 0th is 1. So now I can multiply, distribute. See how easy this is? Subtract, divide. So now I know B is 4. So I can go back to my equation. I'm going to put 4 in right here for B.
Wait,
What?
how did you get the 20? Like, I'm confused. How do you go from? You
You
multiply.
gotta clear your denominator, Jake. Okay, now I need C, so I'll use the only thing left, which is the 0.2 comma 50. So 50 equals 100 over 1 plus 2 times, 4, times C to the second, right, 4. C to the second. 2 in for X, 50 in for Y. So I'm gonna do it again, I'm gonna bring my denominator over, so 50 plus 200C squared equals 100. Subtract 50, divide, and 50 divided by 200 is 1/4, which means,
No, 1/2.
C is 1/2. And then I can put that right here. And there's my answer. Okay? You can avoid practicing that all you want. It's a GTQ, guaranteed test question. So you can practice it, make sure you know how to do it, or not. That's up to you. Okay, we're gonna look at 17. We haven't talked about this in a while. Seems like forever since the first couple days of this unit. So this problem says compare without a calculator. Notice this is not a calculator problem. Now that doesn't mean you couldn't try to graph it by hand, you absolutely could, but I think we don't need to. Alright, so let's start with what we know. This is a straight exponential. Y equals a b to the x. And what does an exponential look like?
Curve up.
It curves up, okay? Looks like this. Everybody agree?
Yeah.
That's called exponential growth, and that happens anytime your base is bigger than 1. So this could be a 3, same picture. Now, the points would be different, but the shape would be the same, as long as that number is bigger than 1, okay? Now, what does this mean? What does that do? Well, what does that do?
Flips it.
It flips it and makes it 1/4 to the x.
That's also 1.
Now, when your base is less than 1, like a 4th, you're not growing, you are decaying. So it looks, well, that wrong. It looks like that. So these are actually the same basic picture, but they're flip-flopped across the y-axis. But since that's a 4 and that's a 4, they're gonna have the same basic points, just flip-flopped across the y-axis. So which one is growth? This one. Which one is decay? This one. Now, I do not ever want you to assume that if the exponent is negative, it's automatically decay. You can't make that assumption. How do you determine if something's growth or decay? You look at the base. So if you had 2/3 to the negative x, that's actually growth. Because what does that negative do? Flips it and makes it 3/2 to the x. Do you see what I mean? Do not make any determination until you figured out what your base is. Then you know if it's growth or decay. Don't base it on the exponent, because you'll be wrong sometimes. Okay. Let's go to number 10. I'm just randomly picking problems, so keep it in. This timing is really bad, you guys. You're gonna have 3 days in between class and the test, and if you don't look at any of this in those 3 days, it might not go well. You're gonna have to do some studying on your own, okay? Some reviewing. All right, let's look at that problem I said. It's a word problem. I'm gonna give you all the formulas, all 4 of them. either written on the test or written on the board. Which one am I gonna use for 10? You don't have to give me the exact formula, because you don't have to have it memorized, but, this is a population increasing, so this is gonna be a PERT. This is gonna be a PERT.
A equals TE or
Yep. So that's the formula. So what I'm interested in making sure you know is that's the formula. Because that's the only one of our four that isn't money. Right? It can be money if it's compounded continuously, but it doesn't have to be money. All the rest of them are money. Future value, present value, compound interest. They're all money. All right, it increases from 1, 2, 3, 4 to 98765. In 77.6 hours. By what percent does it increase each hour? In other words, we're looking for the growth rate, like the interest rate in a money problem. All right, so what do we do?
divide 1, 2, 9.
So 98765 divided by 1, 2, 3, 4 equals E to the 776 point whatever. Now, don't type that in and round it off. Because you're gonna be gonna take points away every time you have a round up error. So let's not do that, we don't need to, it's fine. LN both sides. We need somehow to log both sides because our variable is an exponent. Since there's an E, I'll use the base E logarithm, ln, so that goes away. And then I'm gonna end up typing what into my calculator?
LN 9765 divided by 164.
Yep. Oh, shoot.
0.056.
5.6.
Yeah, 5.6 or 5.65%.
So R actually comes out to be 0.0565,
Yeah,
which would be,
5.65.
it says what percent? Yeah, so that would be 5.65%.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense to everybody? Right now, 1 through 5. 1 is a calculated problem, 2, 3, 4, 5 are not. Right now, 1 through 5, let's write down some answers and we'll come back and compare those. Okay? Get them written down. Get them out. Or are you just sitting there like you're on vacation?
What?
Why are you sitting there like you're on vacation?
Oh, I forgot my math folder.
We're at this game, Charlie. You show up for tennis without your outfit. No. So we don't show up with math class without our math folder. Jody, we share with our delinquent friend
How to bring your racket in.
yeah.
So,
Maybe you should put it in your tennis bag, then you would remember. Maybe.
What numbers?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's pretty simple.
this is fourth.
What?
Try
I
that.
have a question about the last one.
What?
Oh, yeah.
How did you know how to, if you got
Wait, what'd you pass? Second
0.0565, how did you know?
Because you round off to
I think you
6,
opened all the way down.
to 4, goes to 5, and you round up to 9.
To find a percent, is that what you're asking?
Like to move, how did you make it to 5 point, how did you know to make it 5.65% somehow?
Like what other percent?
Like maybe, 0.565.
1.4.
Because when you change a decimal into percent,
Move over two.
You move it two
over
places.
Okay.
Miss Ford,
Is it log 6 divided by log 13 on the first one, or log 13 divided by log 6?
English?
No, I understood his question, he just needs to look in his notes.
Oh, that's so horrible.
I remember when I was about fourth grade, we were studying Gettysburg Address, 4 score, and I had to raise my hand and say, what's a score? And the teacher said, go look it up. And I've never forgotten it, because I had to look it up myself.
Nothing of that's wrong.
Okay, there is one of these that is an absolute no-brainer. Which one of these, you can just boom, got the answer.
Three.
don't even
Four.
need to
Number
think.
four.
This guy right here. Yes. That answer is 3. If you miss that, total lack of preparation, because it's 3. That's the rule, it's 3, period. Now, all the rest of them involve something. So, these 2 problems, and actually that one too, actually, all of these, if you wanted to, could be loop-de-loop problems. Every single one of them could be loop-de-loop. I'm not saying they have to be, but they could be. If you set this equal to x, you can loop-de-loop it, and it says 6 to the x equals 13. Then you can log both sides. And what's the beautiful thing that happens? This comes down. And as soon as it comes down, you can solve for it. You can't solve for it when it's up there. So it comes down, and we end up with log 13 over log 6. Now, Jake almost remembered that when you have this right here, that will always be, it's called the change of base formula. It will always be the log of this number divided by the log of this number. Now that's what happened when I loop-de-looped. But if I remember that, I don't have to go through those steps. It's log 13 divided by log 6. Log top number divided by log bottom number.
1.6.
And then, then it's just a matter of typing it in. There are no rounding instructions, so, I got 1.4315. If I rounded to 10,000, that would be 0.432. If we rounded to 1,000, I don't know how we're gonna round. We're gonna round somehow. Okay. Now, I said this one could be a loop-de-loop,
Yeah.
but not until you do what? What do you have to do?
Put
Did I
the
copy
5 to the
this right?
thirds.
Cube with,
Did I copy that right? Yeah.
yeah.
So the first thing we want to do is probably divide by 3. So we have log base 2 x minus 1 equals 5/3.
Yep.
Now, it's not very pretty.
Yep.
Would have been nicer if that had been a 6, but it's not. So we're gonna deal with this, we can. So what does that say?
2
2 to the 5/3 equals x minus 1.
Plus
So 2 to the 5/3 plus 1 equals x.
Yes.
And without a calculator, that's it. Now, if this were a calculator problem, I could type that in and get a decimal. But right now, that's it. Now, I said this one could also
2/4.
be a loop-de-loop. 7 to the x equals a 4 through to 49. Now, what's special about 49?
The perfect square.
It's 7
Squared.
squared. And that means 1/4 power. So I have 7 to the x equals 49 to the 1/4. Guys, radicals are fractional exponents. But 49 is 7 squared. multiply those, remember you multiply those. So 7 to the x equals 7 to the 1/2, 2/4, 1/2. So x equals 1/2. And that last one there will loop-de-loo, but not until you do what?
Negative division, like.
Yeah,
combine
you gotta
lots.
put them together. Listen to me, guys, you cannot
Nobody.
do anything until you have one logarithm. You can't have two on the same side. You can have one on each side, that's okay, but you can't have two on one side. You have to put them together. So when I put those two together, since that's a minus, it's gonna be a division. And now I can loop-de-loop. So 6 squared equals x minus 2 over 5.
Times the size by 5.
36 equals x minus 2 over 5.
180.
What is that, 180 equals x minus 2, so x equals 182. So those 5 problems, you know, we're talking about level of difficulty, those are like 1s and 2s, okay? Those
Out
are
of
basic skills we need to be able
5
to
or
do.
10?
10. Those are basic skills we need to know how to
Yeah.
do, okay?
What level of difficulty you said the test is?
10. Yeah, because you know that's my goal. We sit around, we have these meetings, we sit around, we talk about how we can ruin your life. You're gonna have some 1s, some 2s, and if I do it right, some 9s and 10s. All right. Speaking of one that's a little bit more difficult, not because of the math, but because of the calculator aspect. Number 11. Would everybody agree that number 11 requires this formula?
Yeah.
Right? We do not use PV or FV unless we are making payments, right? PV and FV are for payments. I am not making payments. I walk down to the bank, I put in $321, I come back 11 years later and there's 987. So this is my formula. 987 equals 321 R over what? 4 raised to the 44th? Why is it 44th?
It's 11 years times.
11 times 4. Quarterly, 4. Quarterly is 4, and then old times 11. All right, is that okay? Everybody got that set up? Okay, that's easy. That is not difficult at all. We have to know how to put this into our calculator now. So the first thing you're gonna do, always, is what?
Divide by 321.
So we got 987 over 321. All right? Now, do not take the logarithm of both sides, because when do we take the logarithm of both sides? When our variable is where? The exponent. Is that variable the exponent? No, it's buried inside of a parentheses.
So we root 44 both
You
sides.
gotta get rid of the parentheses, and the only way to do that is the 44th root it. Because that will leave me with 1 plus r over 4. Now, before I freak out, okay, I'm gonna stop and think about this a minute. Is this a number?
Yeah.
that's just some decimal, right, that my calculator will produce? So I need to get R by itself, so I'm gonna take this decimal, I'm gonna figure out what it is, and then what am I gonna do?
Subtract one.
Subtract one, and then take
times
that
by four.
answer and multiply it by four, okay? Don't get all bogged down, if you can get this far, you can go straight to the calculator. Because sometimes we get confused, we try to write it all out, don't worry about it. This is where we're at, we know we're gonna type this in, subtract one and times by four. Alright, so let's see if we remember how to do that.
Wait, do we, what the 44 root to it?
Hmm?
Do the first.
Okay, you do it. What one of it?
That's your final answer. What is it? That's your final answer. It's like 4 point something.
You got it right.
This is a negative.
0.103.
You add four? Oh, it's subtract one. What? What?
I got R equals 0.1034,
Yep.
which is about 10.34%.
Right.
So what interest rate would I need? I would need about 10.34%.
It's pretty high.
Yeah. Alright, let's look at number 21. What formula do I need for problem 21?
Present value,
PV?
PV. Because what am I doing?
Paid off.
Paying off a loan I presently have. Alrighty. So here we go. Let me write that down. It's on another page in the packet, but I'll just write it down. PV is this. Okay?
Yeah.
Alright, so what am I doing?
Is it guaranteed that well?
Yes.
I wanna know what my payment is gonna be, so I'm gonna be solving for R. The present value of my loan is 1234. The interest rate, 0.1849 divided by 12. Remember, in this formula, you have to divide your interest rate by the number of payments you make a year. It's a little different, so you gotta practice it to get used to it. And that's gonna be to the negative what?
4.
No,
40.
4 times 12.
48, 48, yeah, 48, okay.
Remember, in this formula, N is the total number of payments you're making. 4 years monthly. And then 0.1849.
You get this on the test, right?
You get the formulas. You get these 4 formulas, okay? But I'm not gonna tell you what each letter means, so that's why you need to practice.
You're not gonna tell us what equation to use it for, right?
No, you're gonna have 4 formulas listed and you gotta pick. And then you gotta know, okay, I picked that one, what do I put in here, and here, and here, and here, and there? What do I put in? You have to know that. Okay, now, again, this is easy. I just plug numbers in. Now I have to get an answer. So think about this. Would you agree that this right here is just some number?
Yeah.
To get R, I'm gonna have to take 1, 2, 3, 4 and divide it by that number. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna figure out what that number is. You do it, I'll do it too, I'm gonna talk. get an R value yet?
Go type in there.
36.57, remember it's money, so we're gonna have to round it off to the nearest hundred,
Can you just divide that fraction out immediately instead of doing
as
that?
long as you don't round it off.
So what was it? What did they get?
36.57. Okay, now, you might think to yourself, oh, $36 a month, that's not that big of a deal. But remember, he's doing that for 48 months, so I just figured out, he's gonna be paying a total of this. So, putting that on his credit card and not paying it off is costing him an extra $500, basically. Right? Stupid, pay it off. Alright, let me see if there's anything else on this page. Oh, how about 14? How about 14?
Just do this, put in parentheses, one minus. And then the.
I'll stop a little early and help you with your calculator, but right now I need everybody looking at number 14.
No, we put.
So we have y equals 2 to the x plus 4,
Yeah.
okay? Now, we just talked about this. Forget that part. What does y equals 2 to the x look like? So you know that it looks like this, right? That's 2 to the x. Exponentials, the basic exponential has an asymptote right here at 0. What does adding 4 do to that
Moves it
picture?
up 4.
Raises it 4, so that means the whole shebang, including the asymptote, is going up 4. So it was at 0, it's now going to be at 4, so it's gonna look like this now. So the question says, write the equation of the asymptote, okay, y equals 4, and then the range is everything from 4 to infinity, not including 4, because 4 is the asymptote, and we don't touch our asymptotes. Okay? All right. Right now, quickly, do 12 and 13. What?
I had a question about plugging the last
Just
one.
wait a second. Come on. 12 and 13. We're doing 12 and 13 right now. Hurry up. 12 and 13. You should be able to whip these off pretty quickly. Number 12, did you remember that a fifth root is a 1/5 power? So don't you have e to the 4/5 in that problem? And ln goes away, so the answer is just 4/5.
What do we plug in this?
No, you don't need to type this in on your calculator unless you need a decimal for some reason. What would your answer be here? The 4th root of 3. You're just gonna 4 through both sides. So it's just gonna be the 4th root of 3, which is fine. Couple more. Number 7. Is the one with the hole punched in the middle of it, after 6 and before 8. It's just 2. Why is it 2?
Because of
L and E are touching each other, gone, answer's 2. 8. 8. Now look at it carefully and pay attention.
So it's gonna be times by
Which one did you see? It
times
was
by 8.
Can you remove
Did you combine your logarithms on the left side?
Yeah.
And hopefully you combined them into 18x minus 3?
Yeah.
Because it's a multiplication. Now, this one's different than the one we did earlier. We have ln equals ln. What are we allowed to do?
Cancel the L.
So 18x minus 3 equals 9, 18x equals 12, 2/3.
Can you just cross out the LNs at the start?
No!
You can multiply them out first.
I mean, but would you still get the same thing? No. Oh, wait, no, you have to leave that. Yeah.
When are we allowed, if you want to cancel out, that's not a good word, but if you want to cancel out those LNs, what does the problem have to look like? LN equals LN. That's the only time it's legitimate. Okay, or log equals log if it's a different base.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't cancel them. Okay? All right, one more and then I'll help anybody who's got a calculator this year. Number 9. Write the equation of the exponential. Now, we did one a
Y
minute
equals A,
ago
B of X.
where we were writing the equation of a logistic. This one is easier because there's only 2 variables to find, not 3. And what is the format I use for an exponential?
Y equals A times B of X.
Yep, y equals a times b to the x. All right. And what do I know? I know that if I plug in 0 for x, I get 2 for y. So what does that mean?
A equals 2.
A is 2. And then I know that if I put in -1 for x, y is 6. So divide by 2. And then remember that b to the -1st means 1 over b. So it looks like b equals 1/3. So your answer, let's put 1/3 in right there, and you're good. Okay? All right, we've pretty much done that sheet, a couple we didn't do, pretty much did. So here is your job for tomorrow, and I am being serious, all right? Chapter 4 is trigonometry. I am itching to get to trigonometry. I love trigonometry. I am ready. So, if you do not, between now and class tomorrow, go to, I don't care which one you go to, there's, 3 more review sheets in here. Find some problems that you need to practice tomorrow in class and come with them. So circle them, underline them, highlight them, whatever. Somewhere in the review packet, find the problems that we need to do.
Data.
No. My intent is not to start trigonometry till January. But if you make me mad because you're being slack, then I'll start it, because I'm ready. I'm making a sacrifice, holding back. So everybody understands? Circle them, highlight them, do something, make a list.